On this episode, we talk about DOGE Coin, the economy, and Ben and I ride 100 kilometers for CHEO. Welcome to Think at Heart.
Let's go
is right. 100 kilometers last weekend for CHEO. Before we get into that, I'm Scott Goodfellow. This is Ben Hart. Hart Investment Group. Welcome to Think at Heart. I think this is episode 16, give or take the interviews. I've lost count where we're at.
Yeah,
but I was so excited to get into the CHEO ride. It wasn't uneventful. Yeah. You know?
No, of course not.
100K.
Yeah.
So let's give a little backstory here. So we came over to National Bank about 8 months ago, and this is one of their
less than six now. I just looked. 6 months. Less than six now.
Like
yeah.
3 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a different story. We'll save that one for episode 20.
Yes.
Anyway, so CHEO, the CN ride for CHEO is a big one for National Bank. So we set a modest goal, being our first time doing it, of $1,000 to raise, and we said so because it's like a virtual thing. You just kind of ride your own. Before it used to be like you ride this like with thousands of people, and then like 15K. Which is sponsored by National Bank, and I think most of them did that. But then there's like 60 and 75 and 100, whatever. Right? Everybody gets it. So we decided. I think I just signed us up for it. I just said, "Hey, we're gonna ride 100K."
Yeah.
And for those that you don't know, Ben and I have both done Ironmans in our past. Ben looks like he's done one more recently, which is true. So 100K is no joke on a bike for a couple reasons. Number one, it's a long way. Right? Yeah, it's a long way. Number two, it's real tough on the butt. Let's be honest. If you haven't been,
tough on the butt.
Haven't been on your bike for a long time. A good 4.5, 5 hours on a bike when you haven't been on it in a while. That's rough. Anyway, we did it. We woke up at 6 a.m. and headed out from my place. We got a great video on which will be coming out on our YouTube channel probably by the time this is released. Some little snippets.
Yep.
So what's some of the highlights for you, Ben, of that ride on Saturday morning?
Before we go to that part, I did have some feedback and comments. Jose wanted to know why you didn't use the racing wheels. Was it because you're afraid of being too fast? Was one of his questions?
I was a little afraid of being too fast. That was a great question. No, I didn't. We were riding more for comfort than speed. Let's just put it that way.
It's true. It's true. What are the highlights? I got to. I remember what it feels like to hurt. Because I haven't done anything distance-wise in a while, and my butt did hurt the next day for sure. And of course, like as you know, I love Cliff Bars, so got to eat a bunch of Cliff Bars for breakfast. It was a great start to my day.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
How about you?
Yeah, I don't.
I mean the other thing is I like energy drinks and energy food, so. Got to have a couple of 5-hour energies, get me going. I didn't sleep the rest of the day, but I felt great.
It was like a nice treat for you to be out there, right? It was a nice day. It was. Nice day, and most of it was great. I wasn't sure where my fitness level was at. I still ride and run here and there, like half an hour on the bike, maybe 2 at the most, but 4 to 5 hours. Not really in that shape anymore. So by kilometer 85, I was hurting from about 85 to 95, and then it started to get a bit better. But
and I think I had my downsies more in the middle of the race, middle of the ride. I wasn't feeling quite as good, but. Yeah, they go up and down for sure.
Anyway, fantastic.
Yeah.
One last thing about that. Our goal, I mentioned, our goal was $1,000 to raise, and we raised 3,600, which is
Amazing.
amazing because we kind of did it in a short time frame. And hey,
Yeah.
our clients and our friends and family stepped up for us. So I think
Awesome.
next year
Yeah.
we're gonna have to top it. Maybe we'll do 200K next time. Eh?
Definitely.
200K. We've both done that distance.
Sure.
We've both
Sure.
ridden that distance in the past.
Yes.
I couldn't just show up for that one
Yeah.
like I did this one. We have to train for that, I think. And really, what's the point? But anyway,
Well, if 200 is an option, I'm interested. Let's do
oh
this.
my God, I'm not committing to that at this stage.
As as both our wives said to us, like, is everybody doing 100K? And no, we're the only ones doing it.
Oh yeah, I should
Yeah,
have said that too. Is
makes
like you were
sense.
encouraged to kind of do a distance, pick a distance, and do it over a period of time, like a month. Instead, we're like, nope, we're just gonna do it all
Yeah.
in one day, which is really more, towards our personalities as well. We're all in guys. We just like all in.
That's it.
Uh,
That's it.
Great. So busy times in the market, weird times in the market and the world, really. I mean, we're still,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
even want to talk about the pandemic anymore. I'm just upset with it. Okay?
I know.
If pandemic was a
Yeah.
human,
Yeah.
I would step into the ring with it, and we'd go toe to toe.
Punch
Yeah,
it in the mouth.
I think it has a better record than me. I think my lifetime fight record is like probably something like 9-2, and the two were not pretty. Let me say that. But
No. No.
anyway, so yeah, it's a weird time for sure, and markets getting a little weird. Connor,
Yeah.
getting a little weird. Why don't you kick us off with that?
Yeah, well, I think that's probably a good way to look at it. We've had, I think everyone was surprised when the markets did well as the economy was going in the tank last year. And now we're starting to come and see the other side of that, where things have started to kind of looks like maybe fizzle out a little bit, where rates start to move up. Some companies continue to do well and others don't. It's been a strange market. We've had some companies obviously have kind of big surprises. Some of the names that I mentioned, like Sally Beauty was one we've owned and talked about. I mean, this is a boring old company that just went up 50% in the last 4 months. And so there's companies like that doing that, where there's others like the Shopifys and the Amazons of the world that have gone kind of sideways to down, and some of the high growth names have really started to suffer. Some of the COVID like names like Zoom and things like that, DocuSign, they've been a little bit challenged now. And so I think we're starting to look at really the early phases of the economy starting to open up again. I've been attending Malden's conference this week, and so I listened to David Rosenberg this week, and I love his reporting. People, I think, generally look at him as a perma bear, but I think you just gotta listen to what he says, and he's forecasting that. Everyone thinks that we're gonna have this huge opening, and everything's gonna boom coming out of that. But he pointed to a couple interesting statistics, and one of them was this the service portion of the economy in the U.S. is something like 2% of GDP. So, if we explode and we got a double on that, you're going to see a little bit of growth, but you're not going to see anything explosive like I think people are expecting. And so there's been this kind of overwhelming fear that we're entering hyperinflation. I don't know about you, but every article you read about interest rates and inflation, everyone thinks we're going into a big inflationary cycle.
Yeah.
So,
Y-
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what everybody keeps saying. So if that's the case, let's say everybody's right. If that's the case,
yeah,
when should we anticipate to see that happen? Right? Like everybody says, oh, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, but it's not. Right?
yeah.
Like it hasn't yet. Is that's like
Hmm.
one of those things everybody says that it's coming and it's 2 years from now, or it's six
Yeah,
months? What kind of time frame are
yeah,
we looking at?
yeah. Yeah, so I guess I'd have to look at the setup of how do we get hyperinflation? Well, we'd need to have everything moving up. And so for like we've had hyperinflation for the last 6 weeks. The likelihood that this is sustainable, in my view, is zero. But let's just say if we played it out, and we said inflation started to run away, well, you'd have to see tight supply forever. So you'd have to assume that the manufacturing plants don't grow. You'd have to assume that the semiconductors don't get up to speed. There's lots of cars not on the lot because they're waiting for semiconductors to go in. So you'd have to assume, I think, that the world kind of grinds to a halt. And if you expect we never get back to where we were from a productivity perspective 12 months ago, then there is a possibility that we have hyperinflation. I think it's extremely low that we
Yeah.
do, and I think it's going to be in pockets. You probably continue to get inflation in asset prices, but one of the things that most people don't talk about is wage inflation. And so, we actually have wage deflation in lots of parts of the economy. And so, if you expect technology to still lead, which I think you and I
Mhm.
both do, technology is inherently deflationary,
Yep, for sure.
right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it feels like it feels like we're coming out of this. You know what I mean? I keep using the word
Mhm.
feels like,
Yeah.
and because
Yeah.
that's all it really
Yeah.
is, right? But going back to productivity, and that's kind of my point is, we were talking earlier today about now companies talking about mandating people going back to work, right? So who was it?
Yeah.
Google, I think you
Yeah.
said, was talking about maybe Salesforce
Salesforce.
saying that you could stay home, but
Yeah.
that you'd take a pay cut. Is that what you saw?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so that's one thing they're considering doing. Yeah, Google as well has said you're going back to work September
Mm-hmm.
1st. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. There's a low likelihood that you see them pay people more.
Right.
Yeah, and as long as entitlements are here, where the government's paying you to stay home, they're not going to make more money. They're going to make what the government's giving
Right.
them, but you're not going to see like wages dramatically
Yeah.
increase unless there's something I don't
Yeah.
see.
Well, it's interesting that companies be making their staff come back. I mean, certain industries obviously would need to, but if there's not a real requirement for them physically to be there, it's far less expensive to have people work from home. So it'd be better for the bottom line, but
Yeah,
obviously they see something in the productivity of the work at home over the last year and last year,
yeah,
right? That's pointed to like, no, we want
yeah,
everybody back in the office because I've heard that from a few people now, few few financial firms too in New York City are back starting, or we're back for starting May 1st as well. So yeah.
yeah. But I'd be curious on the productivity statistics. I mean, I know we've talked about this. Are people actually less productive? Like, is it the productivity thing that they're concerned about? Or are they concerned about something else? Because I don't know. I don't see. Maybe I'm missing it, but I'd love to see the statistics, but I doubt productivity's down.
I don't know what other reason that you'd have that you'd want, a big office and have all that rent and all that overhead to deal with,
Yeah,
deal with staff in there every day. Like, that's just a headache. But yeah,
maybe.
there's gotta be some sort of reason. Because I don't know about you. Well, I do know about you, but like I work more now because you don't have to commute. You don't have to get up and get ready.
Yeah,
Like, right, you come down and
yeah,
get your coffee or whatever, and get to work, and
yeah,
hang out with the family a little bit after work, and then work again because it's all right here now, right?
yeah,
So, I mean, look at us.
yeah.
It's almost 9 o'clock, and we're doing a podcast on a Thursday night. All right, like that's
Yeah,
just what it is.
for
If we
sure.
were at the office every
Yeah,
day, maybe our schedule would be different. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
yeah.
I still think it's an old thinking, an old style of thinking model, control and command. If you're not here, you're not working. And I think that's a big driver
Yeah.
of it. And I really think that the companies that are going to win are the ones that don't do that.
Yeah.
The ones that, like you want that engagement, support and trust and believe in what their teams are
Hmm.
doing, and they'll find a way. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I do think it's like if you're not here, you're not
Yeah.
working. I don't
Which,
know.
which
I've seen
really, I
enough of
mean,
that
to
in my
me,
career.
like if you're not there, it would help because then you could just base people's performance off their performance and not, the bias of their personalities, right? Because you get some people that are more likable, so
Yes,
you can give them more of a break or whatnot.
totally.
I've been there. I had 40
Yeah,
employees, before I did this, and it was,
yeah.
it's not easy. That's for sure. It's not easy to manage all those personalities, especially when they're in the office, right? So anyway,
So what would their comp breakdown been of hard versus soft? Right? Like what would you assess them on? Obviously differ from marketing to sales to
mhm.
administrative, but would every one of those employees have a soft skill bonus structure or pay structure?
Um, yeah, not. I mean, there wouldn't outside of the salespeople, there wouldn't really be a based on performance, right? Like obviously at the end of the year they would come in
Yeah,
for that kind of performance. Yeah, mostly just soft skills.
sure.
I think that was your question, right? It's
Yeah,
just like, oh, like,
yep,
are you
yep.
getting your work done? Or do people like you around the office? Do you fit in well with the team? Like when you have a marketing company, there's a lot of
Yeah,
those creatives types, and that's how
sure,
they work
sure.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
uh,
Yeah, well, it'd be
yeah, how
interesting.
do we get on that? What rabbit hole do we go? Oh, the
I'm
economy.
not sure.
I know, and that the economy was supposed to be
The
third on the
economy,
list.
productivity.
The economy was supposed to be third on the list, and we're just going down rabbit holes today. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah,
it's a weird time. It's a weird time. Speaking of weird times,
yeah.
the
You want to
news
go
the
to?
news of the day, or sorry, of the week, DOGE Coin is the big mover. Um, Dogecoin now has how much was it up? You had the numbers. Do you remember how much it was up right now?
Uh, 12,252%.
12,252%. So I had some money in that this week, so I'm retiring. I'd like to put my notice in right now. Then I'm retiring because I had some money in it. I did have a little bit in it just because I do. But
It's fun.
it's fun to
Yeah.
watch, like that type of thing. But it's super speculative,
Mm,
obviously.
mm.
But here's one of
Yeah.
the things I thought was very interesting is that the market cap is now 70, almost 73 billion. So, which is bigger than
Yeah.
Coinbase, right? So,
Yeah.
Dogecoin's market
Yeah.
cap is far exceeds Coinbase. So, what do you think? What's the deal with the big rip on Doge?
Yeah, I mean it's very bubbly, it's very Internet 2.0. Like, the amount of companies that I saw come out in the 99 2000 was a lot like this, right? The dot coms come out and it's the next best thing. And Doge, I think, is really how it's been portrayed. It's the next best thing. It's marketing based, right? So you got Elon talking about it, you got some other people talking about it, and as we talked about, I think on one of our podcasts, the people that generally own this kind of asset class, really, this is the only thing they own is crypto. And so they would be spreading around and gambling on it. You know, Ultimately, I think there's a high probability it goes to zero. But before it goes to zero, it might go to $1.50. So, there's a lot of hype and marketing around it. It's not Bitcoin, it's not Ethereum, which are completely different beasts. It's built, as you know, it's built by two guys that started it as a joke, trying to launch an altcoin because they thought it'd be fun and interesting, and it got traction. And so, some of the things that people like about it is there's an infinite amount, so you can mine it, you can go find it, like people can generate it cheaply and easily now versus Bitcoin where you can't do
Hmm.
that. So there's still some appeal to it, but it's like It's a speculative gamble at this point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're gonna when people get bored of it, there's gonna be. I mean, there's an infinite supply, like you said, so there'll just be people just there'll be no
Yeah,
value to it anymore. I think. And then you turn around, and I saw today that there's companies out there that are now you can buy purchase goods with it, right? Like I think I was mentioning the Oakland
sure.
Athletic baseball team, you can buy tickets with it. Was just one of the
Yep.
ones that I saw, and who was a big bull on it? Well, obviously Elon Musk is a big bull on it, so you may see it rip again
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he's going to be on SNL, and they've got a skit apparently all around DOGE Coin that's kind of leaked out. So I think that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. So you might see another rip there. So
Yeah.
yeah, and Mark Cuban is behind it again. Yeah.
Cuban. Yeah.
The other thing
Yeah.
I saw that I noticed too is that they haven't updated the code on it in like 6 years, so that's becoming outdated. So I don't know how sustainable
Yeah.
that is, or if it'll become hackable or whatnot. Although I guess it's on the blockchain, so
Hmm.
that's. But anyway, so yeah, very interesting. But anytime something rips 12,000%, worth a note,
Might be an air
worth a
pocket.
note on the Thinking at Heart podcast. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You know. Hey,
Exactly.
maybe we'll just start doing
Yeah.
a show
Well.
on penny stocks, right? Hey, this one,
Yeah.
this one will rip 100,000%, and
Well, I got plenty of those I can talk about too, but we'll save those for another day. I did read too as well that an article this week about central bank digital currencies because they're obviously the most interested in what's going on because they see this happening, they see the speed of adoption too, and so the central bank in the U.S. is actually testing 12 central bank digital currencies right now, like they're in test phase right now, seeing how it works, seeing how they work, seeing how they integrate, seeing how they sit. So, this is coming quite a bit faster, I think, than people are willing to accept in the finance world. And I think it's just who's going to adapt the fastest. And from the looks of things in crypto land, like Doge Coin, the speed at which people are interested in something new and something change, it's so fast and so
yeah,
quick. And the positive of this is there's hopefully lots of people in their 20s and 30s and 40s making a lot of money.
yeah,
And if they are, it's going to be good for the economy. It's going to be good for all those people coming into the housing market, all those people having families, and that's the core subset that's putting a lot of money in there. So I'm hopeful and optimistic that some of these things can get some traction, get some regulation, all these things that you need in order for it to be sustainable. Because if just one person hops from one to the other, ultimately it's going to destroy a lot of people. They're going to lose piles of money. So I'm hopeful that these things can be
hmm
sustainable. But the speed at which things are happening right now is so
yeah. I think
fast.
as the younger people too get into the market, I think their time horizons are a lot shorter than what
Yeah,
we're used to in our industry, right? I think this
yeah,
generation's need for immediate gratification and wanting to have it all right now won't allow for that 20-year time horizon, right? No, let's just buy and hold, and
yeah,
we'll have our money
yeah,
when we retire. I think
yeah.
everybody wants to make their money now, so I think there'll be more of, and you
Hmm.
see that by the increase of retail trading and the Robin Hoods and whatnot, and the Game Stops, right?
Yeah,
More and more people are seeing, and
yeah,
as people are having more and more success with it, right? You only ever see the
yeah,
successes.
yeah.
You don't see the people that lost everything, because they took these huge
Hmm.
gambles, right? I think there's
Yeah,
going to be more of an appetite for this type of trading, um,
yeah,
in, over time.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly there. It's coming through. And so what happens as you get into a run up like we're presently in, you get massive
hmm
complacency. So people start to think this is easy and everything's easy. And I'm starting to hear it and see it from
hmm
people. And they are looking and thinking that things are easy. It's easy to make money right now, and so the only thing that I think is natural in the market is you get ups and downs. And so in the crypto space, we've seen a lot of ups here, not a lot of corrections recently. So that'll get a few people kicked around and maybe shaken out. And if my forecast is right on where we go in the economy and we see an economic slowdown, uh, you know, two of the things that don't do well in that backdrop, which we talked about just before we got on the call here, is, Bitcoin and Ethereum don't do well in that slowing economic environment. So, I think that it's important to think about the cycle still at the same time. But if we truly are in the network effect, which we think we are, we never come back to the original levels. We just pull back to a higher low. And when we do that, those are really the signals to consider adding to them
Yeah,
again.
for sure. Yeah, so I know we were going to
Yeah.
talk more about crypto. Do we want to talk like overall? And we just talked about Doge. Is there anything more we want to talk about as far
Yeah.
as the overall crypto scene? We haven't talked about that in a few weeks, so we thought we'd get back on the train.
Yeah. I miss it
I,
too. It's
I
interesting.
know.
No. Yeah, so I think that obviously one of the biggest standouts this year has been Ethereum's outperformance of Bitcoin. And so, I think it's just like anything as you learn and study and try to understand each of the different components to potentially the new digital finance world that we're heading towards. Ethereum really has stood out as the, I'm not sure what the right answer is for, but really I describe it as the platform in which everything's being built and sits on top of. So you get all of the developers right now that seem to be developing their products on Ethereum. And so Ethereum seems to be getting a lot of attention, extremely different than Bitcoin. Bitcoin's, in the crypto world is a store of value, where Ethereum would be kind of the platform in which everything's being built around right
Mhm.
now. And so I think it's super interesting. I think this open source thinking is so much more challenging for people to understand. But Ethereum seems to be sucking all of the attention in the systems that are being built right now. Is that how you see it too?
Yeah, I think so. I think yeah, people are starting to understand more and more how this whole new industry is going to play out, right? And we're like, oh, okay, well, what are the use cases for all these things now? Right now that okay, we've bought
Yeah,
into the 1,000 foot or 10,000 foot view. Now let's get into the nitty
yeah,
gritty. How do we use this thing on a day to day basis, right? So as we understand that, I think
yeah,
you'll start
yeah,
to see more value in different things. And going back to Doge, I think a
yeah.
few people raising like, oh, wait a second, this could be used, as a way to purchase things and trade online, right? So as something that started out as a
Yeah,
joke, maybe could
yeah.
could pivot just like any business that starts out as one thing ends up as something else.
Mhm.
It kind of pivots to that, right? So I
Yeah.
think that's what we're seeing. I think the initial Bitcoiners, right, are maybe looking at these things, people that are further ahead and like, oh, this may be the real value, like the Ethereums and some of
Mhm.
the other coins as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's still quite a ways away from people understanding how money moves and how things move. But I guess I would look at it, and maybe I'm too narrow because we work in finance, but I think this is really where that unique opportunity happens, where people want to send point-to-point transfers and they want it to be instantaneous. Like, I want to send you $1,000. How do I do that? Well, if I do it now, it's a little clunky, right? And not guaranteed, and not necessarily, there's always somebody sitting in the middle of it. But if these technology systems allow you to do that instantaneously, 24/7, 365, for no
Yeah,
cost, people start to stand up and say, "Wow, this might actually be something that
yeah,
we could use."
and it's 100% secure, right? Like still this day, the blockchain
Right.
has
Yeah.
not been hacked, right? So, and trust me, I'm sure people have
Yeah.
tried,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, there's
Sure. Yeah.
billions of dollars at
Yeah.
stake, well,
Yeah.
trillions now, right, at stake. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, so this is the technology I think that we've been waiting for sure. So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, anything else on crypto? Want to talk about? Hmm?
I don't think so. Now, the last thing on is the continued tokenization. I'd like to have another, maybe we can have another podcast. I'm hoping we can get somebody good on that can talk to us about kind of the tokenization of all assets. You know, we've talked a little bit about T0 and Overstock's business, and they look like they're going to sit kind of in the middle of a lot of different areas. And so I think tokenization is really interesting, and could really change how assets are
Mm-hmm.
secured. You know, could really squeeze out a lot of the middle people. So I think that's going to be really interesting, but still early days
Yeah,
there.
I think the thing that tokenization and NFTs and stuff like that, I think is really, I was really excited about it when I first heard about it, but now that I understand it a little bit more, I'm most excited about the smart contracts, right? Like it just makes sense, right? So that means you can basically assign a contract to anything and assign any rules that you want to that thing, right? So if it's a collectible, right, and
Yeah.
you're the originator of that
Yep.
thing and you
Yep.
want royalties on every time it trades, you can write that into the smart contract and it'll be
Yep.
whether or not people will buy it with that attachment is something totally different, right? But and all these can be
Right.
enforced
Yeah.
by on the blockchain, right? And just like we talked about
Yeah.
exchanging money instantaneously, if the contract says that happens as soon as it moves, you get your cut instantly, right? Like those types of
Yeah.
transactions
Yeah.
don't exist, and now they're going to. Well, they do. They
Mm.
already exist, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And so,
so even just understanding that much now, right, compared to where we started 6 months ago, we're really kind of getting into this.
yeah.
You know, again,
Yeah.
kind of understanding how we're going to use it on a day-to-day basis makes me super excited
Yeah.
about tokenization and NFTs and stuff like
Yeah.
that because I think there's huge. That's almost an industry within itself. You know.
Yeah, so I think you're right. There is one company that's came out called tokens.com in Canada. That seems to be interesting that they're doing that. The 3IQ Fred Pai is involved with it. The I think though to understand that a little bit too, most of those smart contracts will sit in
Mm-hmm.
Ethereum, right? They'll sit kind of in that Ethereum, and they'll use Ethereum as the backbone to their smart
Right.
contracts.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So hopefully we can continue to educate and kind of share as we learn and understand it better too. And as I say, the speed of adoption right now is so fast that even though we spend a lot of time understanding it, along with every other aspect of the economy and markets, hopefully we can continue to educate and share that information as we
Well, and
learn.
it's super exciting to think about what the opportunities are going to be coming out of this. Like, if you think about,
Yeah,
I
for sure.
almost every episode I compare it to the internet. Like, if you think about back where the internet first started, the opportunities that came out of that beyond just the internet, right? Like, right now we're just at the internet was
Yeah,
invented. That's kind of blockchain, right? We're kind of at that point, but now
yeah,
as time goes on, all
yeah,
these different companies and all these different offshoots and all these different services, right?
yeah,
And apps and
yeah,
websites and all those things will come out, and those are going to be additional
yeah,
opportunities, right? And those are the things that you
yeah,
and I are going to be
yeah.
talking about, just like trading regular companies, right? And everybody won't be
Sure.
so hung up on the
Yeah.
word crypto
Yeah.
anymore, right? It'll just be another company on the exchange. We don't know how that'll look at that time,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of things like
Yeah.
when the internet came out and these companies came out that everybody needed a website, right? But websites were like $150,000 for a
Yeah.
website back in the day, and
Yeah.
these companies had huge
Yeah. Yeah.
valuations. They were selling, to other big companies. Yahoo was buying everything, and like it was just crazy.
Pets.com.
And
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
the like
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
Netscape and all those different Ask
Hmm.
Jeeves was a big one, competitor to Google,
Yeah,
right? Like all these things had
yeah,
real value. These are real
yeah,
companies with thousands of people, and they had real value. We're going to see the
yeah,
exact same thing type of scenario where everybody's
yeah.
just going to be discovered gold for the first time, and they're going to be looking to grab land as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so I think that's a good way to look at it. I mean, I think the other thing that I'm optimistic about, and I don't know if you've heard Ralph speak just about kind of the future jobs, and we talk a bit about our kids and what they do and how they spend their time. You know, at first I thought it was super illogical that people would live in that metaverse, they'd live in that digital world, but I think you're gonna have careers. I mean, we already do now, but you're gonna have huge careers and sectors that people make money living in a digital world that spawns off of
Yeah,
this. I think this is what allows that to happen at
for sure.
scale.
One of the I don't have you ever seen the
Yeah.
movie Ready Player One? You saw that?
Yes. Yes.
You want a good look
Yes. Yeah.
at what I think it's probably going to look like is similar to that, right? Is where you come
Yeah.
home, or some people just work in that. You wake up, and you put your goggles on if that's what it is. Maybe it's more, maybe it's smaller at that point, but you put your goggles on,
Sure.
and
Sure.
you're navigating this digital world that you've created or your employer's created, or and then at the end of the day, you switch to
Yeah.
whatever fantasy world that you've created, whether it be games or whatever
Yeah.
else you're into. You know what I mean? The mind
Yeah.
can come up with,
Yeah.
and everybody just lives there all the time, right? And it's scary to say, but if
Yeah.
you look at
Yeah.
how our kids interact today outside of their planned activities that we
Yeah.
force them into, like sports and real
Yeah.
sports and whatnot, they live in
Yeah.
digital worlds now. You know, even in their
Yeah.
school
Yeah.
now, it's
Yeah.
like it's been forced on them. It's accelerated over the last year with the pandemic,
Yeah.
where all their schooling's online.
Sure.
So it's just gonna be like that, but magnified, right? Because that's they're used to it. So
Yeah.
they're gonna be the
Yeah.
ones that are developing all these
Yeah.
future things for sure.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that can provide actually some optimism of where there's going to be some high-paying jobs and some places to
Mm.
make money, you know,
Yeah, I certainly don't say it to be
right?
pessimistic
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
doom and gloom. That's exactly
Yeah.
my point.
Yeah.
Is like
Sure.
that's just
Yeah.
where the world is. It's
Yeah.
not even like, oh, maybe one day in the future. No, it's there now. It just has to be realized. It's in these kids' minds, and now it just has to be realized.
Yeah.
It has to be manifested into something physical
Yeah.
or digital, I guess, in that case.
Yeah.
Wow, we really going down
Yeah.
rabbit holes today. Hey, really getting out there. Like
Yes, we are
philosophy on all
thinking.
kinds of things. Well, let's lighten it up a little bit. I don't know if
Yeah.
it was lighter for us and the rest of the world, but let's finish it off with big news. Kind of sad news, but big news in the
Yeah.
we'll call it infotainment world. Bill and Melinda Gates
Yeah.
calling it quits. 27 years, had enough.
That's
What?
it. They did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What term did you use for her earlier?
She's the one of the greatest value investors of all time. 27 years. And now she's gonna get $70 billion. I think a reasonable a risk reward.
She played the long view for sure. I'll play the other side of that and say she probably had to deal with some personality issues with Bill.
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah,
he wasn't
yeah.
a cup of tea every day, but yeah, that's unfortunate because they had
No, yeah,
they have their organization, right? Their charities there, and
yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm sure they say that that's going to keep going, but I guess that was big news in the tech world. Well, I guess in the world.
Yeah, I mean it's huge. It's huge. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do. Obviously, they say they're going to carry on. I mean, they've been a fantastic organization. They with their focus primarily on Africa, like they've saved more lives than I think any other charity has in history. So they've done amazing work. I'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, I know that. Bezos was quite concerned about where he landed on the richest people in the world chart. It'll be interesting to see what if Bill has that same kind of thinking. But they certainly have a division of
I wonder
assets.
if his timing was, we're leading into summer. It's time to hit the beach and start cruising the beach, right? He wanted to be single for the summer, like he was back in his college days, right? I wonder if he has that same kind of
Yeah.
mentality. I think
Well,
he's like, you think he'd be into like online dating and stuff,
maybe,
or maybe he's
maybe
just going straight up
set up a.
digital. Have like a digital girlfriend. I shouldn't go into this. This is the wrong platform for that.
No, it's a wrong
Yeah,
angle.
definitely
Um,
the wrong angle. Oh man.
yeah, yeah, I don't know. It's obviously Bezos and him. Like I say, these are some big couples that have grown huge organizations together. It's actually quite surprising on a breakdown. But I think it's this pandemic has really challenged
Yep.
everybody in lots of relationships under
Hmm.
pressure as a result of this kind of lockup. So. Yeah, it's sad to see the
Yeah.
change, but yeah, big news.
Oh man. All right. Well, that's what we had on the sched for today. Do you have anything else you want to?
Yep.
We're trying a new shorter version this week. So normally we're trying to be at an hour.
Yep.
Today we were going to go 25 minutes. We're now 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So
All right. Pretty
we're
good.
going to do our best. Anyway, that's it. I forgot to mention at the start. You can find us on all the social medias if you're looking for us, Heart Investment Group. You can also find us at our website, www.heartinvestmentgroup.ca. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And if you're listening to it on
Hmm.
Spotify, please give us a 5-star review. That helps us reach more people and really helps the channel and the Heart Investment Group overall. That's it, Ben. Another
That's
one in
it.
the bag. We'll see you
That's
next
good.
week.
Fantastic. Thanks. Great job. Good night.